want to talk about NFL teams that have first-year head coaches this year and how I think those teams are fair. Now, let's start off talking about the Indianapolis Colts since we're there because, in Shane Steichen's initial season, really right now, things haven't gotten off to the best start. The Jonathan Taylor stuff is going to be something that's going to basically throw a monkey wrench in Steichen's first training camp, not knowing what the deal with Taylor is going to be. Now, obviously, as a head coach, he's trying to hold it down, saying all the right things, but you're trying to put in a new system with a new rookie quarterback. So the Colts, I came into the season liking the Colts, thinking they could possibly win the AFC South because it's not like I don't look at Jacksonville as some juggernaut. But now that they're off, I think they're going to get off to a slow start this year. And then it's going to be problematic because of this Taylor situation. Now, mind you still got a rookie quarterback you're trying to break in. I'm pretty sure Richardson is going to be the day one starter. Best case scenario, this is a 6 to 8 win team, best case scenario, that can kind of turn this thing around and get it going in the right direction after the horrible job that Jeff Saturday did. So I feel as if the Colts, this Taylor thing is messing them up. But I think as they get into the season, I think you can see a pretty dynamic offense. And if they can get that running game going, if Taylor cooperates and they get that six-back attack going with Anthony Richardson and Jonathan Taylor, they could have a special offense and win a couple games. Defensively, my man Shaq Leonard from South Carolina State, he has to do better than he did last year. He's got to get back up to speed. But this is a team that when they brought in Matt Ryan, y'all liked him. I liked him too. When they brought in Phil Rivers, we liked him. Those veteran quarterbacks didn't work out. They go get a young quarterback and everybody think they're going to be the worst team in the league. I would not go that far on the Indianapolis Colts. I think they're going to have a solid season. They're going to get off to a slow start because of this Taylor drama. But in the end, I think Steichen rallies and gets this team in 6 or 7 wins. The Carolina Panthers have a new head coach and a new quarterback this season. They traded up to get the number 1 pick in the draft. They took the best quarterback in this draft in Bryce Young. Frank Reich's the new head coach. Bryce Young's the new starting quarterback. One thing we know about Carolina, well, 2 things we know about Carolina. They play in the worst division in football, so they can compete. They can compete with Tampa. They can compete with Atlanta. They can compete with New Orleans. I think they can win the division personally because, see, one thing about Carolina, they just didn't have a quarterback. Matt Rule didn't do a bad job with that team. They're real good in the trenches. You saw that last year. They're going to be effective at running the football with no matter who's back there. It's going to be a next man up type of thing. They don't have the most talented skill players. I think DJ Chark could do a decent job. But for the most part, they're going to be well coached and they're going to be well quarterbacked. And they got enough talent in the trenches to win the worst division in football. I like Frank Reich as the coach of the year candidate. And I already said I like Carolina over their win total. And I like the Panthers also to win the NFC South. I think that's a pretty cheap division winner that you can get at plus 350 right there. So I do think Frank Reich will come out good in his first year as NFL head coach. Another NFL first-year head coach is DeMeco Ryans. He's also got a rookie quarterback out there in C.J. Stroud that was drafted early. They also took Will Anderson at the top of the draft. The Texans had a pretty good draft. The Texans have been one of the bottom feeders in the NFL for a couple years now. But one thing about DeMeco Ryans, you feel as if like he's going to change the culture because he's a culture guy. You know what I'm saying? He was out there early in his career. He's been well talked about in head coaching circles as a guy that's ready to get a chance. The Denver Broncos wanted him. They would have had, if he would have took the Broncos job, Sean Payton would still be working at Fox. That's how real that is. You know what I'm saying? So there's a lot of expectations for this young man. And I think he's going to be able to live up to them. Now, are the Texans, who also play in a weak division in the AFC South, are they going to be someone that competes for the division? I'm not quite sure they're there this year. But if Stroud gets rolling on the right track, I do feel optimistic that you'll see an improvement in the Houston Texans this season. So I like Ryans a lot. You know what I'm saying? Pierce is there now. That team is not great talent-wise on that roster, but I do think they'll be well coached. I think the quarterback is going to come along. If I'm a Houston Texan fan, I feel good going into the season. And unless I completely shit the bed and win 2 or 3 games, I feel like Texan fans are going to feel pretty good about their team once the season is over. Now, the Denver Broncos also have a new head coach. The Broncos interesting because they got the big, expensive quarterback, celebrity quarterback in Russell Wilson. And I don't really like teams that have celebrity quarterbacks, and Russell is the celebrity of the celebrity quarterbacks. He hasn't really gotten it done. Sometimes I kind of get the vibe that, remember when Andy Reid and the Eagles traded Donovan McNabb? And then Donovan McNabb got to DC, and you're like, oh, man, this guy's washed. They got him. I get the feeling that, you know what, the Seahawks may have pulled the fast one on the Broncos. Like, they may have got a whole bunch of assets from a quarterback who's washed up. So, the Broncos are going to be an interesting case study this year. We know how good of a head coach Sean Payton is. He's already playing mind games with Nate Hackett and the rest of the AFC and Russell Wilson, because really he's just trying to motivate Russell Wilson. Don't think Sean Payton just fly off the handle at any time and say what the hell he want to say. Whenever a head coach is talking, they're really sending a message to their team. And that's what Payton was doing with his criticisms of Hackett. Now, is he going to be criticizing Russell Wilson during the season? Because that's the first thing he's going to do. Because if this does not work, nobody's going to blame Sean Payton. They're all going to blame Russell Wilson. So I think it's going to be tough. And then Denver's in the AFC. They're in the AFC West. I'll be honest with you. I think they'll be improved from last season. But I do think the quarterback's an issue. I don't think the Denver Broncos are a playoff team, but Sean Payton's not going nowhere. I think they're going to have an interesting offseason in Denver. And I don't think they'll lose enough to be in the Caleb Williams discussion. But I could very well see this, next year, this time, Russell Wilson being with a new team trying to start over. Because if it doesn't work out, Sean Payton's not going nowhere. Russell Wilson to be the guy to do that. Now, as far as the rest of this team goes, the wide receivers got to stay healthy. It's good to see that Javonte Williams is trending in the right direction. So it'll be tough to roster him in fantasy, you know what I'm saying? But he's coming at a decent price. The defense, we always hear how stout the defense is, but are they really that stout? I'm sure Payton will have them coached up and ready, so we'll see about that. The final team with a new head coach coming into the year is the Arizona Cardinals. Jonathan Gannon's their new guy. He comes from Philadelphia. Oh, man, it's a bad situation out there. They don't have Kyler Murray, and I'm not the biggest Kyler Murray fan. They're going with Colt McCoy or somebody out there who probably shouldn't be quarterbacking in the NFL. The roster is starting to get depleted. This Arizona Cardinal team is in trouble. They got one of the lower win totals, projected Vegas win totals in the NFL. I think this is going to be a tough first year for Gannon and the Cardinals. Now, if you're the Cardinals, you're looking forward to getting Kyler Murray off the team. Should have never gave him that big-ass contract. Because now you got to move that contract. That's going to be a problem. Oh, exec, why you got to move the contract? They just go with Kyler Murray when they get healthy. No, they're not. Because they're going to be bad enough to where they can get a Drake May or they could possibly get a Caleb Williams, and then they're going to trade Kyler Murray because there's no way that you leave that type of talent on the board, and you already know that Murray is not the leader that needs to be the guy for this team. Slighter frame guy. He gets hurt every year. So I'm not optimistic about the Cardinals, but I think the Cardinals will start to rebrand and rebuild themselves next season. So this could be very well be a lost year for the Cardinals out there in Arizona. I think they're coming up on a tough season. Like, got rid of D-Hop. You still got Connor and Marquise Brown and a couple of options for fantasy and some good players, Buddha and all of that. But for the most part, I think the first-year head coach, Jonathan Gannon, is going to be in it for a tough one this upcoming season.